Hello and welcome to Monday Morning Motivation. The letter to the Romans is one of Paul's greatest expositions on the foundational doctrines of our Christian faith and has been referred to by one author as the Constitution of Biblical Christianity. In chapters 9 to 11 of this epistle, after dealing with the divine purpose of Israel and God's wonderful promises to them, Paul concludes this portion of his letter with a hymn of praise to God's marvelous wisdom and ways. Quoting from the book of Job, he asks his readers the same question that God confronted Job with amid his questioning and doubts. Who has ever given to God that God shall repay them? Romans 11 verse 35. This is still a question that we need to consider and reflect on, because the answer is still the very same that Job received. God stated plainly that everything under heaven is His, and that cannot change. We must be careful in our thinking on this matter, lest we adopt the same attitude as the older brother in the parable about the prodigal son. In that account, he had a sense of entitlement, of compensation owed him because he had served faithfully for many years, not being wasteful, but was diligent in doing all that his father required of him. Let's not make that same mistake. Please understand, there is nothing that we do for God, give to Him, or some cause in His name that He has to repay us for. He doesn't need to repay our good deeds and reward any sacrifice we make. The very fact that He chooses to do it is further evidence of His amazing grace, and it should never be anything we take for granted or take credit for, but rather we should be thankful. And this concept leads us to verse 36, where Paul continues, "And for Him, from Him, and through Him, and for Him are all things. To Him be glory forever. Amen." You see, many people think that they have achieved great power, amassed wealth, and are great leaders holding high position based on their hard work, intellect, sway, or even their connections. This verse eliminates all doubt as to where these things come from. Everything that is in the natural and spiritual world exists through God and ultimately because He allows it. There's no power or authority, great or small, that can exist unless our great and mighty God allows it to be so. In fact, all those who will question or deny His existence are guilty of the same ignorance as the proverbial man sitting on the very limb that he's diligently sawing off. Why? Because Acts 17:28 tells us, "For in Him we live and move and have our being." His life-giving spirit is the very reason we even exist. His breath in our lungs each day is what allows us to work hard and to achieve. So, what do we have that is not from God in the first place? What have we achieved that didn't begin with God blessing us? Let us reflect on these things and remain humble before Him. As we look at the vastness of the universe, as we consider nature, and as we look at the work of our own hands, our own achievements, and our pursuits, let us do so with this clear understanding. As the creator of the heaven and the earth, all things, including every human being, originate from God. All things, whatever principalities, powers, or realms there may be, exist and are held by His word. Whenever He chooses, they will cease to exist. And there will be no more, regardless of what any may do. No power, no authority in heaven or on earth or under the earth can continue unless God allows it. This is the magnitude of His great power, authority, and might. That is why Jesus, bound and on trial, declared to the mighty Pilate, "You would have no power over me if it were not given to you from above." Pilate thought that with all the might and power that Rome had and that supported him, he held all the sway and could determine Jesus' fate. What he could not see, and therefore failed to understand, was that he and the Roman Empire were simply falling in line with God's preordained plans and purposes, and therefore God was really the one holding all the power. Oh, the depths of the riches of the wisdom and knowledge of God. How unsearchable are his judgments and his ways past finding out. And in him are all things. God created all things. They are all sustained by him. And it is all to his honor and glory. We are not here to live for ourselves or to pursue our own glory. We are here to live for God, to glorify him in all that we do and enjoy him forever. This is the main purpose of all creation. We can thank God for creating us, sustaining us, and saving us by acknowledging his sovereignty and glory in everything we do. God is in total control of all things, working out his purposes for our lives and ultimately for his honor and glory. And we can rest in that no matter what it looks like, no matter the doom and gloom of the news or of the doctor's report. This is great reason to rejoice. Let us cease then from all our striving and take comfort in the hope of these words. For from him and through him and for him are all things. To him be glory forever. Amen. This has been Monday Morning Motivation. Join me again next week, Monday, for another devotional. Have yourselves a wonderful week.